Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the Fiji Development Bank, Mr. Biman, the CEO of the bank, Mr. Philmone Wangabada, friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's okay, I'll hold it. That's okay. Yeah, I think we got it right now. I want to thank the chairman and the CEO and FDB Nandi branch for inviting me to speak at this forum. I accepted the invitation for two reasons. One, because I had to come to Nandi anyway for the budget forum organized by Nandi Chamber of Commerce at 6 in the evening. So I decided to leave at 6 in the morning from Suba. The second reason why I thought this is very important is we do have pre-budget consultations. We hear from people, and I must say that I've been very, very pleased with the number of submissions, with the quality of submissions, and not only from people who are well informed and who read these things, but also from the people in communities, in villages and settlements, with some very good ideas for the budget. And we have been able to take many of those into consideration in the formulation of the budget. So I want to once again take this opportunity to thank all those people who made submissions, who contributed to the formulation of the budget. And we're very pleased with the level of discussion that is now being held pre-budget and post-budget. And we find that we get a lot of discussion. A lot of people are free now to say their piece in different ways. And I think it's good. It's good for democracy. It's good for policy making. And it's good for us to hear from people post-budget so that we can follow that through our implementation and execution of what's included in the budget. So I've had a couple of post-budget forums already. We had a very successful post-budget breakfast with the Employers Federation. I was able to have one or two in Singatoka, especially in a village. And I was very heartened to hear from the villagers in Singatoka, what they understood about the budget, what they felt about the budget, and what are some of the issues that was confronting them. And it makes me feel very good because sometimes we think about big issues, but small things, small improvement to roads, water, sanitation, drainage, these have an outsized impact on the quality of life of people in those areas. So it's always important for us to hear that. I will quickly just summarize what we did in the last two budgets, and then very briefly, I'm not going to go into the details. I'm sure many of you heard the different provisions that we have in different ministries. But just to give you an overall perspective, when we came into government, obviously we inherited a debt level of about 90% of GDP, and we had one of the most dilapidated state of infrastructure in health, education, water, roads. We are still grappling with that, and it will take longer than what we thought to fix some of those. A lot of work has been done in the last 2 years, and a lot more remains to be done. And a lot more will have to be done beyond the term of this government. So that's how we see our role in terms of managing our budgets and our finances and how we can get through. So in the first budget, we realized that we had to stabilize our finances. We reformed our tax system. We raised the company tax from 20 to 25%. I know some businesses were not very happy, but we had to do that. We reformed the VAT system. We had 3 rates. We had 0 on 21 items. We added another one, prescribed medicine, to make it 22. We kept 0 VAT there. Then there was 9 and 15. So we removed 9 and we only had 2. Because with the 3 rates, we are losing a lot of revenue. There was a lot of leakage. People were charging 15 and paying government 9, and charging 9 and paying government 0. So the additional revenue that we were able to collect as a result of those tax reform, all that went into the pockets of the people to help different sectors of the economy. So in the first budget, we not only reformed the tax system, we raised social welfare, we provided additional funding for agriculture, subsidies for non-sugar agriculture, price subsidies for sugar, rice. So there was this attempt to put money into the pockets of the people. And so that was the first budget. Yes, some people complained that we increased the VAT, but we used to have VAT, single VAT rate of 15% from 2011 to 2016. There was only one rate of VAT. And then we had other taxes the tourism industry people would know. 10% ECL, STT. Adding all that, you had almost a VAT rate of more than 20% for the tourism industry. So we removed all that, and we kept the income tax threshold to 30,000. So nobody earning below 30,000 paid any tax, and we are still keeping that to below 30,000. In the second budget, we realized that the pressures on prices, some driven by international supply chain, freight cost, the prices of fruits or vegetables or meat went up in Australia and New Zealand, where we import with 0 VAT, with 0 duty, the prices still went up. So we realized that we also need to focus on the side of the income. You can't control the prices of everything all the time. So you have to address the income. So as soon as we came into government, we raised the minimum wage to $4 from 1st of January 2023. Then we raised it to $4.50 last year, 1st of August, and $5 1st of April in 2025. And I want to thank the business community, the employers, for accepting that as a credible review, an increase of minimum wage, which also led to increase in wages in all the different sectors. So those people who were earning $6 are probably earning $7. So everybody's salaries and especially wages in all the sectors went up. Then we raised the civil service pay as well, salaries and wages of the public sector workers from between 7 to 20% in the second budget. Then we provided additional funding for health, education, and the agriculture sector. So if you look at the budget for agriculture sector in the last 3 budgets, it's been increasing because we are moving away from just focusing on tourism. Tourism is very important. We keep providing some of the best incentives for the tourism industry, and they can't complain about it at all. But we are also providing additional support to the agriculture sector. And I'm very pleased to say that the agriculture sector has picked up very, very strongly in all the areas, especially in Banua Levu and parts of the Western Division. So that was the second budget. Apart from additional funding such as back to school support, in the last three years we provided almost $130 million direct to the students before they start the school. More than 200,000 students have been helped in 2023, 2024, 2025, and we have included the same amount of budget for the next school year, 2026, to support our children in the education sector. We wrote off $650 million debt that burdened about 53,000 families in 2023 budget and replaced it with a merit-based scholarship. And more students than ever are getting scholarships, full scholarships now. For the first time in Fiji's history, that we have a completely merit-based scholarship. So any student, if you meet the marks, if you meet the quota to do MBBS, you get a scholarship. If you want to become a teacher, if you have the marks, you get a scholarship. If you want to become a plumber, you get a scholarship. If you want to become a joiner, you get a scholarship. And the previous scheme of loans, where students just took loans, went and did whatever they wanted to do, those who should have ended up doing mechanical course, ended up in a university doing management, which they never completed. And we lost about $160 million, which went down the drain, and we have no record of some of those students. This is what we found out when we came into government. And so we changed it. And that's a big innovation. We are now putting students into different areas where it is going to meet the needs of the country in terms of labor market needs. More money into technical education, more money into technical institutes where they train out people in technical areas, and that's helping our labor market. We are still importing quite a bit of labor from outside, partly because we are losing a lot of them, partly because we were not training enough, so we are doing that now. So in this budget, we have built on the foundations that we laid in the last 2 budgets. And we were able to reduce our deficit, our debt to GDP ratio from as high as 90% down to about 79% in the first budget, 77% in the second budget. And so we created that space. So in this budget, we have decided to go for a bigger expenditure budget. We call it expansionary budget for 2 reasons. One, we want to continue to support our people in terms of social welfare. We've increased that by another 5%. We provided an increase in the civil service salaries by another 3%. We've continued to pump in additional funding to agriculture, to health and education. And for health, And for drug and crime, we are putting in additional $60 million, $10 million directly to combat HIV/AIDS, additional funding of about $40 million in 2 phases for the police force, where we are increasing the size of the police force by 1,000 officers. It will take the total number of officers in those 2 phases to about more than 6,000, which is above the average internationally, where you need about 300 officers per 100,000 population. We will have about 700 officers per 100,000 population. And that is to address the increasing drug, crime, and health issues such as HIV/AIDS. Direct focus, and this is the first time in the last 2.5 years that a government has taken head-on this issue of drugs. It didn't happen overnight. Drugs, crime, and HIV/AIDS as a result of that, the connection there. So we're focusing on that. We're putting in a lot of money to improve our health infrastructure, whether it's through public-private, BA and Latoka, where we are still negotiating the agreement. CWM Hospital was falling apart. We've got the Australian government to work with us, and there are 27 projects that are now underway that is going to fix CWM, while we plan for the new national hospital that is going to be built in Suba, where the number of beds will double from about 400 to 700 something. That project is already underway. A lot of work has already been done with the support of our donor partners, including Australia, multilateral financing institutions such as World Bank and ADB. The Indian government is also building a super specialty, 100-bed super specialty hospital in Masinu, 150 bed for cardiology and 50 bed for other diseases, including oncology facilities. We fixed several health centers, nursing stations throughout the country which were falling apart. I went to Kandavu, and I give this example everywhere I speak, 3 months ago. The hospital was virtually falling apart. We've now got the Australian government to fix that. The work has started. We're hoping to complete that hospital at the end of the year. Nasori Health Center, saving about 70,000 people, was almost falling apart. And for 10, 15 years, nobody paid any attention to it. We got the New Zealand government to fix that within a year. We built and renovated a number of schools that were not completed after Cyclone Winston and Cyclone Yasa, especially in Banua Levu, and many of you would have seen. So we are continuing we are continuing with funding for further improvement in the education system. We appointed the Education Commission, which has started its work already to look at the changes that have been made in the curriculum and how we can improve the quality of education. We've made some changes to the funding modality of schools, where now school managements would have a much bigger flexibility in managing the school grants, in raising funds. And what we found was that over the years, management was completely removed from the picture. There was the whole relationship between community, management, students, parents had broken down. And it almost reached to a point where parents didn't even know who the teacher of the children was. Nobody was getting into the school. The schools were being deserted by parents, essentially. Now we are giving you the flexibility. And 98% of the school, close to 99% of the schools were built by our forefathers, faith organizations, religious organizations, community organizations. And these people, 90% of them manage this school very well. They manage the infrastructure. Staff quarters were always done. All these things are falling apart. I mean, I can see even here in this school. You will now have that flexibility. We are going to build that partnership. We provided 500,000 for strengthening of School Management Association. We provided funding for school principals, head teachers association, making sure that this group of people are able to take things through. In the area of agriculture, you will see, I know the farmers here, representative of farmers, sugarcane farmers, for the first time in the history of sugarcane farmers, we are providing additional funding to support good price. We have announced in this budget that cooperatives that own mechanical harvesters will be VAT-free. We are continuing with the support for new cane planting, subsidies for agriculture and subsidies for weedicide and fertilizer. But we are also focusing on non-sugar agriculture. First time in the last budget, we provided subsidies for fertilizer and weedicide for all our farmers. And we can see the impact of that. Rice farmers have now got a granted price that we are also providing as part of government subsidy. And I'm very pleased to say that the agriculture sector is now growing. In fact, Vanuatu is kind of booming. We have the new tourism development project there. That's also supporting the growth. The upgrade of the Lambasa airport is already underway. And there are a number of projects, tourism-related projects, that is spinning off great economic activity in the agriculture sector in Vanuatu. And I'm sure that it's doing the same in other areas. So, if you look at the budget, it is also anticipating any global economic slowdown. The tariff war with the US is not over yet. The war is still on. There's some agreements that are being finalized. Fiji was slapped with a 32% tariff. That is still under negotiation. So we have said to ourselves in this budget, look, we're going to increase expenditure. We're going to run a slightly higher deficit, but our debt to GDP ratio still remains below 90%, below 80%, 10% less than what we inherited. So we are managing this very well. And the idea of putting more money into the pockets of the people, into the economy, through big infrastructure projects as well, not just increasing social welfare, civil servant salaries, subsidies, price hikes. We are also undertaking big infrastructure projects, whether it's a hospital project, whether it's a school project, water project, road projects. We've increased funding significantly for Fiji Roads Authority, for Water Authority of Fiji. For housing projects, we're also allowing FDB to now lend for housing purposes. All this is designed to put money into the economy, support infrastructure, so that private investment is also picking up. And as was said by Ram Bajikal in Suba the other day, this is the first time that we are putting out statistics on investment which is real. So when we said $5.8 billion worth of investment is taking place, it is actually taking place. A number of projects have been completed, a number of projects are in the pipeline, happening, some at the planning stage, but these are real projects. And when that is completed, or some of it is completed this year and in the following years, we expect a much better economic growth, and the spin-off of that growth will be good. I'm very pleased with the way in which the Fiji Development Bank is positioning itself, not only in terms of its traditional role, which they need to still focus on, which is to support our agriculture, our women in business, small and medium enterprises, but we are also allowing them now to move into housing as well. And we expect the bank to work with us very closely to support the overall objective of diversifying our economy. Let me just conclude by saying this. Yes, we hear a lot of things from our people. The expectation from us was big as a government, and whenever there is a new government, the expectation is big. People expect us to sort out the road issues, water issues, health issues, education infrastructure, and we understand this very well. We put in a national development plan. Again, that plan was very well consulted. 3-year, 5-year, 2050 vision. And the last two budgets have been framed around the national development plan that allows us to put a trajectory, a path for Fiji to become a high-income country by about 2050. But that's not just an ambition out of thin air. It is something that we have planned, something that we see in our implementation book, our strategies, but we are saying business as usual will not do. Whether it's FDB, business as usual is not going to work there as well. Business as usual is not going to work in government too. And we are saying to ourselves, we are saying to our civil servants, saying to ourselves as ministers, that we need to get out there. Our civil servants, many of them do a good job, but as I said, business as usual is not going to work. We all have to work very hard to achieve that vision that we've set out in the National Development Plan for 2050. And I think what I have seen personally in the last 2.5 years is that there is a lot more confidence in the people on the ground, and we see that in the spending, we see that in our revenue, we see that in our investment, not only locally, foreign investors. Our diaspora are coming in big numbers. We are making things better for them as well. We've reduced the passport citizenship fees down from 3,400 to 1,500. It is not a big thing, but it's a signal that we are sending to our diaspora. Come back, live, reside, invest, and work here. And many of them are finding that we now have taken this country back to democracy, back to freedom, back to a situation where government is held to account, the media is now free, people are free, and I think all that is aiding towards the growth and the prosperity that we see. We're not saying that this is a perfect government. None of us are perfect. And we recognize the knowledge and wisdom that resides in every individual. As I said, when I was in the village, they said a lot of things that I learned When I was in Kandavu, I went to 7 villages. I go to settlements. I go to informal settlements. You sit down with people and they tell you what they think about government, what they think about issues. And that's the environment that this government has created. And we have demonstrated that as part of our budget formulation. This post-budget forum that we are having now, these are very, very important ingredients for good economic development prospects. So once again, I want to thank all of you for coming over this morning and thank FDB for organizing this. I think this is the first time that FDB might have organized a post-budget forum. So this is a good thing. I think we are all coming together, agreeing and disagreeing and saying things to each other, but we are all doing it in the spirit of getting good outcomes for the country, good outcomes from the budget allocation that we've made. So thank you once again. I'll be very happy to answer your questions. Naka.